Right, welcome everybody. So it's 12:05 on Thursday the 16th of May, and this is the Love Movement members meeting, and it will be shown public, so we can just know that that's going to happen when I've sent the video to Rachel, which I'm not sure when she'll be able to actually publish it. I've got a little reading as a start, which is one of the things we tend to do. It's from something called, I'll show it, the Tao Te Ching, and it's verse 67, the three treasures. When most people hear about the great integrity, they say it is useless folly, because it is not like anything in the world we know. They also find it inconceivable. On the contrary, the great integrity has given us three treasures to cherish. The first is love, the second is moderation, the third is humility. If you love, you will be fearless. If you are moderate, you might also sense abundance in life. If you live in humility, you will be widely trusted. But you will not have the capacity to love if you are fearful. Even worse, if you are fearless, and without love, you will always be courting disaster. If you live in insufficiency, you have no opportunity to be moderate. If you live in overabundance, you not only live immoderately, but are always courting disaster. If no one trusts you, then compensatory ego will preclude humility. If everyone trusts you and you lack humility, you will always court disaster. The three treasures are practical guides to great integrity. The greatest foolishness is to live without them. So we've got love, moderation, and humility. So that brings us into the now. I'm going to just go round the group and see if anyone would like to input. So is there something you'd like to say or share, Joanne, at all?
No, that was very. Where did you get that from again? What was the book? Sorry, I missed that.
Right. It's the Tao Te Ching. It's an ancient Chinese.
It's very, very interesting. Yeah, yeah.
And there's lots of different versions of it, and I find them very thought-provoking. And there's Wayne Dyer has got a version.
I've got a book on him, Manifest Your Destiny. So yes, I've read a few of his books. Yeah, very good. That is exceptionally, yeah, good. Yeah, hard to live to though sometimes.
Well,
hard to live up to.
We might not be able to live up to it in each moment, but we will be given things that will help us to perhaps reflect back to it, and then we can move forwards with that, can't we? And it's really this being in the right place and coping as best we can, but also knowing that sometimes we have to positively assert. And I know that's an area that sometimes people criticize me for when I do. They'll even say, I thought you were supposed to be spiritual, Julie. And I'm like, well, that doesn't mean that you just walk all over me.
No, that's it. Yeah.
Yeah. So I am going to positively assert when I feel it's needed.
Yeah.
And also, I know sometimes I'm given less patience for whatever reason with what's happening in my life, and then I will respond more, differently to what I would do other times. Okay, so I'm not sure with the meeting that we've got today. I will ask you if you want to say anything, but it's absolutely fine if you don't want to. So I'm going to go across the screen now to Conrad. Is there anything you'd like to say at all?
Oh, right. I was just unmuting myself. I find it quite exciting, in fact, that you are talking about integrity, because my main theme that I study is natural law. And natural law to me is actually morality. And morality and integrity to me go very much hand in hand. So it'll be interesting to see if we follow the theme of integrity to enhance, shall we say, our individual morality, which I feel is probably the most important aspect of law. In fact, to me, morality is the law, not legislation, morality. Anyway, I won't go on with that for the time being. I will mute myself and see what others have to say. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much for that. And it's this, what is a moral as well within morality. And I know sometimes something is the right thing to do, but other times it isn't. And even if you think of driving a car and perhaps speeding, if you need to speed to miss knocking someone over, then of course you're going to speed. But if you've got a police camera that was going to be taking your speeding, you would still potentially be done for speeding. So yeah, to me, we need to be more flexible than we're allowed by our mainstream society. So that's just my little input on that. But yeah, it's a very interesting area. So Jonathan, I don't know if you would like to say anything. If you do, so just let me know. Right, I can't see that he's wanting to. So Carrie.
Oh, hi. Yes, that was a very interesting point you made, Julie, about you know, not knocking somebody over, because if you're at the traffic lights at 3 o'clock in the morning and there's just nothing there, then it's common sense that you don't just sit there if it's perfectly safe. You know, it's a kind of compromise between what's lawful, which is practical, and what is your own common sense. Anyway, I've got a list of stuff. I'll go through it as quickly as I can. First of all, the Community Assembly of the British Isles have recently got in touch with a lady called Gloria Moss. You may have heard or come across the Truth University. Oh, someone's speaking.
Oh, we know that Jonathan's
2 barks for yes and 1 bark for no.
yeah.
And if you look up www.truthuniversity.co.uk, then you will get all the information that you need, which is extremely interesting. And I didn't realize that there are around 100,000 homeschooling facilities in the UK alone, which is more than I thought. And there are 2 opportunities in this area also where we're trying to acquire premises where we can actually do homeschooling on a bigger scale, which is another good thing that's going on in Cornwall. The second thing is the farmers movement in Cornwall. They're on Facebook, and they are now becoming much more aware of the bigger picture and the bigger agenda and what's actually happening. And some of them are actually regretting being coerced into selling their land to put solar panels on, and they realize they've been duped basically, but they're working together. There's lots of farmers markets, there's lots of initiatives, buying directly from farms, and also people delivering their produce. So that's really good, and I'm working with them, loosely speaking, to try and help with any sort of legal matters as well. And the third thing is the Cornwall Council, in their wisdom, decided to do a series of talks at different venues in Cornwall called Let's Talk. So one of the groups I'm with decided that we would go along to see what these people were like. And on the second meeting, there were quite a few of us, and one lady stood up and actually asked them, do you happen to know how much CO2 there is currently in the atmosphere? And of course, they didn't know the answer. So she told them what the answer was, and she also illustrated and quoted from the IPCC all the scientific data as to, you know, if CO2 goes down, then plant life is in trouble, hence we're in trouble. I also challenged them on 5G, but they seem to think that they're going to go ahead with it, and it's perfectly safe. And I've given them some information on that, to the contrary. And then when we go to the final meeting in Truro in June, I am going to be asking them about fluoridation of the water, because that's going to be a big thing now, because it was only mainly the West Midlands that was fluoridated, and Yorkshire Council have said, no, we're not having it. So there's always that option. And again, I've done some research with the British Medical Council, and I've got some scientific data to give them. And that we have got natural fluoride in the water here anyway, as some counties already have. So I guess I've been putting myself out there a bit, hopefully. And there's one other thing, is a company called Grounded Wellness that I got in touch with, do products under the name of Blue Shield, which you can, and they've got many things, you know, like covers for your mobile phones to protect, and things to plug in your socket indoors, which brings in more negative ions. And I think Lynn will know about this sort of stuff, which kind of balances so that you're not bombarded with the frequencies so much, and that your body can cope with it. And thank you very much. That's what I wanted to say.
Thank you. Thank you very much for that update. Well done, Cornwall, as well, having you there. Yeah.
Well, everybody. I mean, it's a joint effort, but it's I mean, it's really taking off as it is everywhere. You know, people are so much.
Yeah.
You know, they're all doing stuff.
Yeah, and one of my big things is that it only takes one person to actually make positive transformation. I'll keep that focus on it being positive transformation.
We try. It's hard with Cornwall Council because they're, you know, but somebody somewhere, I always believe, it will resonate with, and they go, hang on, didn't somebody just say blah blah? Oh, and that's when it starts. So I never give up, but I don't want to put too much of my energies out there, because obviously I like to do the other stuff as well, the spiritual stuff, which is very important. So it's trying to find that balance.
Yeah.
And to be honest, recently I've been a bit overwhelmed with it, and I've just thought all I want to do is go to a nice Buddhist temple and sit there and meditate and forget everything. But that's a cop-out, isn't it?
Well,
No.
I'm glad that you're planting the seeds. And also, John and I had a little conversation. Now, at the moment, I'm almost feeling like a bit in suspense, particularly since the last new moon. And I'm wondering, you know, what is going to be happening. But also, I need to just see where I feel inclined I need to be voicing or keeping quiet. And I'm doing what intuitively feels right. And that's what we're doing throughout the world, aren't we? Not just in the United Kingdom. So well done, each of us. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Keep shining our lights, and sometimes that has to be in dark places. Okay.
Doesn't it just? Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Right, Cliff, would you like to say anything?
Yeah, just on sorry, I haven't got my glasses on. The lady, the previous lady was
Carrie.
I think there's right now I think everybody knows on this talk that there's a huge shift happening on multiple levels, both on a spiritual, electromagnetic, economic. I mean, literally the human condition is being bombarded from all sides all at the same time, which is why we're here. There's going to be a huge separation of humanity. I've got my own view on that, where I actually been looking at it, that there's a war going on where a lot of human souls are going to basically metamorphosize into a different category almost, and the dark are trying to capture as many souls as possible to keep them pinned on the planet. So there's to continue this kind of civilization and way that it's going, and of course they will capture some. But it was down to your thought about going to the Buddhist temple. It's not a cop-out. Because one of the things I'm talking to a lot of people and doing myself is that there's times when I actually need to be gentle with me, that I'm really important as well within this. And so sometimes I need to listen to myself. And if there's times when you say to yourself, I'd really like to go to a Buddhist temple and just sit for the day, go to the Buddhist temple and just sit for the day. You know, just be in that space for yourself, because you're also an electromagnetic, you're a soul, you're a light being, you're all those things as well. So it's not a cop out, it's actually it's a rejuvenation, it's refilling the battery. Because it's really difficult right now, because the amount of dark energy and negativity that's being spread and we're being confronted with at all times in all aspects, and the huge change that's going on, that we can see, and the change that we can't, and that thing at times we just have to stop and listen to ourselves. There's times when I just take a day out, I'll wake up, I'll just be like, I don't feel like doing anything. I didn't yesterday. I didn't really feel like doing anything yesterday. So I just wandered around, basically. I went down to the allotment and didn't do anything down there, and said hello to the robins and said hello to my fish, and you know, I didn't do anything, basically. I did bugger all. It was what I needed. It was just what I needed to kind of replenish myself a little bit, and actually recharge myself, and actually get myself back into a place where all right, I feel like Cliff again now. I can go out there and do what's needed to be done, and I feel that I'm in that space to go and do it. So it was just that aspect, really. I think sometimes we need to all just be that little bit gentle on ourselves, because there is a lot going on, and sometimes you
And if
really
we
have
don't
to
look after ourselves first, we can't look after others as well as we could do, and that's
Absolutely.
what's so important. Yeah.
And Aquarius, if we're moving into Aquarius, and that actually is all about the internal behavior, and all about internal understanding, and coming back into the heart space, and obviously then applying that to the community and the larger picture. But it is very much about the internal, going back into that space for yourself, and rather than listening to your brain, which, as we know, has been educated badly and polluted for however long you've been alive. It's going back and listening to your heart, and actually having a little chat with yourself, and switching the brain off, and just being quietly with yourself at times, and just saying, I actually need a little bit of peace and quiet, and I'm going to spoil myself a little bit, and I'm going to sit in the garden and watch nothing and everything at the same time, and just all those little things that just sometimes we don't do, because I've got a battle on, and it's like, well, yeah, we do, but in the right, I think, for coming back to peace all the time and love, that sometimes just needs to be cleaned up a bit, really. So but I'm inspired by what you're doing down in Cornwall. It's fantastic, and I was chatting to a guy just the other day who's been having a lot of kind of issues with himself and his family and everything, as far as he wants to move from where he is, and the place they want to move to is Cornwall. So if they do, then I may strike it together, because he's very much into everything that you're talking about, and we've been talking about, with finding land with water, and growing his own food, and we're talking about zero dig, and I was telling him about all the different things you can do on zero dig, and the kind of like way you can structure your living space and everything else. So I may well introduce him on that. That's okay.
Thank you.
Cool.
Because also we have a community growing, but we volunteer as well, and that is my relaxation, when I go there, and I can go into the greenhouse, and I can see how my seeds are doing, and talk to them, and not tell them I'm going to eat them when they're bigger.
Well,
and stuff like that.
The slugs have eaten mine twice now, so I've had my seedlings slugged completely. So I'm just
also teaching the younger generation, if they're not agricultural students, they ain't got a clue about growing stuff.
No.
And so I'm sort of trying to nurture them as well, to get them.
You are nurturing them. You're not trying to. If you were trying to, you wouldn't be doing it.
Yeah. So thank you.
Not at all.
And I would say, everybody, if you could lie down and relax every afternoon or evening, unless you do night shifts or whatever, but usually afternoon, evening, lie down, eyes closed, gentle music on if you like music, at least 10 minutes every single day. And I know this last week I've literally been allowing myself to do even 2 sessions and doing a bit longer and things, because I felt I've needed to. Don't quite know why, but it's felt right to, so I have. So thank you for that, Cliff. Okay, I'll go to Lynn.
Let's make one more
Yep.
very quick point. We've obviously had a huge amount of solar flares over the last week or so. I don't know if anybody else has felt it, but most people who are kind of even slightly awake or open, particularly the more open you are, the more kind of sensitive you are, the more fatigue I'm finding people are getting. They're actually getting kind of heavily fatigued at times when the electromagnetic is, because it's changing dramatically, the field and everything. So again, if you feel fatigued, it typically is about that. So again, just be gentle on yourself and kind of don't expect too much out of yourself. Just kind of move into that space and allow it to pass. Yeah, that was all. So
Lovely, thank you very much. Yeah,
no
I
worries.
also wear various things around my neck, and including the electromagnetic field protection and a chakra balancing necklace. And somebody told me once, oh, you shouldn't be wearing that all the time. And so I took it off because they were quite an experienced teacher. But then I suddenly realized, no, with my sensitivities, I need them on. And if I ever know I need to not wear them, I will not be wearing them. But so I put them back on again, and basically I wear them every single day. I rinse them under the water every night, and I keep them next to my bed. I don't actually wear them physically while I'm in bed, but I know even just having them there is right for me. So so I'm glad that I didn't just be pushed on by the person that had suggested it to me. So thank you. Right, Lynn, we'll come to you because we're on nearly 12:30. Right.
Okay. So yes, oh, you are bringing up some stuff, aren't you? Yeah, there's I sort of agree with you, Cliff, that there is yeah, there does seem to be a lot of darkness around, but I mean, I've been very much in the 3D world this last couple of weeks with my dad and my dog have both developed big issues that have required you know, I'm not into Rockefeller medicine or anything, but they get to the point where they're beyond the herbal or the energetic or anything. I mean, my dog's tumor burst. It was like a bag of tripe. I couldn't, you know, this is maggot season. I could not handle a wound this way and had to resort to a vet. Now, yes, I did see snippets of what you call darkness, but you see the light in, there are people there. They've got these industries that while they are dealing, well, we might know from day to day, they're dealing with things in a way that we don't agree with. It's a Rockefeller dogma. But there are good people who are helping a lot and dealing with when the worst does, when we do get out of hand, and they do a good job and they do really want to help you. And it's amazing how much there is in unexpected places. And I'm seeing it a lot now. That there's people in the care industry, in hospitals, and in vets even, and all places where we sort of think, oh, they're terrible, and you know, they're doing Rockefeller stuff and blah blah blah, and yes, the training might not be the best, it might not be what we want, but they're still really good people doing good work, helping us out, you know, dealing with crap we really wouldn't want to deal with. And I think we have to just be a bit careful about seeing too much darkness. I think there is a big effort on the part of the forces who are trying to keep us down to make this darkness very visible. Part of the agenda of chemtrails, I'm sure, is to keep me looking up, going, get a bloody plane, you know, and get me into that place where I'm feeling that I'm being attacked all the time. It's very visible. It's very out there. And the Daily Fail is obviously all about keeping fear, and a lot of the media is all about keeping fear going and keeping us thinking how dark things are. Remember, there's a lot of light people around. We don't, I mean, they don't go shouting around it. They're just getting quietly on with their jobs. They're just trying to help. and you know, just celebrate them as much as you can. I fall into the trap every day of looking up at the sky and going, you know, whereas what, and then just looking and going, but look at the trees, they're flourishing, the vegetation is just amazing. So whatever's going on up there, it's probably not as dramatic as is going on in my head. So let's just try and celebrate the light stuff going on as well. I mean, I was went out to do the aura watch the other night, didn't see anything, but around the trees was this halo of light, and you know, in the dark, the trees all had a little bit of an aura of their own. So it's all, you know, it's all still there, it's all there to help us. Yeah, meditation, definitely at least 10 minutes a day. You've always got to give our mind a clear out. EMFs, hemp, very good at absorbing EMFs, brilliant building material. So something we should perhaps be looking at, so a way forward for the future. Also putting things like salt crystals around your home helps release negative ions. It sounds like we're releasing bad ions, doesn't it? But release the ions that help balance out the positive acidic ions that we're being stuck with all the time.
But Lynn, even that is their psychology, using our words, isn't it, to try and use them
A little bit, yeah, because the negative ions are the ones coming up from the earth, and actually they're very positive, they're a very good thing for us. That's what we want. And when we, you know, if we're sat with the laptop on our knee, we are becoming very positively charged, and we need to be ideally have a grounding mat under us to be taking away that, well, to bring up the negative charge and take away the positive charge. I'm using, physicists are just going to shoot me for that phrase, but there we go. So yeah, things like that are just really good, and I think people's awareness is getting quite a lot stronger with this, so they'll probably start building and using those in the building materials much more. And I think just to tackle you a little bit on not taking time out. Yes, I know we are crusaders in a way. We can't help but step out there. But meditating is also really valuable. I remember, just remind you of Joe Dispenza's experiment, or the experiment that Joe Dispenza cites in his books, of having groups of people meditating or praying, lowered the crime rate of an area, lowered the heart attack rate of an area, lowered the car accident rate of an area. You know, now, you know, for a cynical scientist, that's like me, we're going to look at those stats and go, who are these people who, when you let them out, they cause all these accidents and things? But no, let's just assume they're really good people. And when they meditate, the energy of their meditation affects the whole area and affects everybody. So we are very much part of the whole, and we just need to bear that in mind as well. So don't, you know, you're not stopping because you're meditating, and you're still working on the whole, still working on the energy of the whole. On a slightly pragmatic note, Twitter, you might have seen, I got a note off somebody saying, I don't get any of your messages, don't get anything. I've not seen this level of shadow banning before. And that's on Twitter, so there's a lot of shadow banning happens on. I don't mind. I think it shows we're on the right track, that this is a very scary concept for the people who are trying to spread darkness.
Can I just
I don't mind. And about this crusading thing, Harry, I do Twitter and I can't face it every day. I just can't. But someday, so one days when I think, it'll be fun to stir things up, that's when I go on. But the other times I just like, I'm not touching that today. I just can't face it. Sorry, Julie, you're interjecting.
Oh, it's all right. With Facebook, I've had a profile set up using my photo that isn't my profile. And so a few months ago, I had something similar happen on Telegram. I didn't really do much about the Telegram one because there's not many people other than people that are very awake if they're on there. But the Facebook thing, I even reported it to Facebook, and they've sent me an email saying that it doesn't contravene their community guidelines. So I sent another one saying, well, it is my photo and it is not my profile. And they sent me yet another one saying it is not contravening our community guidelines. So somebody else, I've suggested a company that I could go to, but I'd have to pay them. And I've just responded to them saying, well, if I've got to pay you, I'm not going to do that, because that potentially is just setting up people to set that sort of business up and then create more fake profiles.
Yeah, the whole Bill Gates thing, isn't it? Create a virus, so you need antivirus stuff. So that he'd done it with software, and now he's doing it with other stuff, allegedly. But
and I've also heard of our local council, Mansfield District Council, I will name them explicitly. Apparently someone had put, I think it was 80 comments over 3 months that they considered to be adverse towards the council, and they've supposedly now blocked that person throughout Facebook to do with the council. And so he put something on next door neighbourhood thing, and it's like, they should not be doing that. And he said he wasn't really being adverse. I mean, I've not seen what he said, but
calling them out is perfectly legitimate, isn't it? We should be holding our public officials to account. We should be. On another positive note, the conversations I'm now having on Nextdoor Digest, which is a horrible whinge fest generally, and again, I can't face it most days, but these are conversations we could not have had 2 years ago. So, you know, the energy is different. The whole the environment is very different. And basically, I just wanted to say, that's all I wanted to say. So I am complete.
Right, Joanne, I think you've got some input to say what we were already talking about.
I was just going to say, yeah, the chemtrails are a bit strange, because like you say, the trees and all the vegetation doesn't seem to be, you know, you'd think that would be really showing, wouldn't you, how, if anything was really untoward from the sky. I don't know. So it could be a distraction. Yes, sort of look at us, we're doing this, and it would annoy everyone, and then we get low energy. Yeah. Just to say, I'm off Facebook and I don't go on any of them at the moment, and I think that's just for me at the moment. That's how I feel. I can't, you know, deal with all Facebook, Twitter, and X, whatever. So yeah, but I've done a lot on Facebook in the past. I mean, I've done so much, but for the moment, I think it's my time to just go out into the, you know, the community and do other things. And I wrote the council, I think I put it on the chat. I asked them to give me a complete transparency, a complete breakdown of the council tax, everything, whether they will, I don't know. But that was my kind of, I thought I'm going to try that way and I'll see. But there's lots of things I've got to think I must try and deal with certain things and ask questions and get them real, you know, to make them realize, you know, we're not sort of just lying back and just paying it off and all the rest of it. I don't know, but yeah, I'm off all the social media ones. I just can't deal with it.
Well, thank you for that, Joanne. And the only reason I'm still on Facebook is because I've saved the local park and I've got 4,000 followers, and now I'm also admin on another park.
Oh, well, that's good. Yeah, I mean, you've got a reason to be on it. Yeah, I can't at the moment. I don't think it would make me too negative.
And I'm just seeing that it is God's guidance for me to stay on there, and also the council know about me because of my role with that, even though they tried to get me to close the group down after less than a year because I'm not the official group, but we are there for people if they've lost other people and dogs and things. The local Friends of Berryhill Park, as they call themselves, that's the official group, they're not interested if people have lost dogs. Hopefully they would be if somebody had gone missing, but I can't see why they're not interested in dogs gone missing. So also on the chemtrails thing, it's interesting because it is raining here in Mansfield today, and I went out to my bin and my back door white step is absolutely covered in soil that has come down with the rain, and my car's covered in it. So yeah, so there's definitely some muck coming down with our rain here.
I will say, when I moved to Sussex from being in sort of Essex, on the borders of Essex, I did feel that, I know this sounds weird, the washing, if anything rained on, if it rained on the washing, it wouldn't be smelling very nice. But this time, if it rains on my washing here, it's fine. So there was some at the pollution levels, I suppose, but I did notice a big difference coming into West Sussex. So
yeah, well, I know I can remember years and years ago we had some Sahara Desert with the rain that came down one significant time.
But was that a Bill Gates thing? Have you seen those blowers in the desert, Julie? But again, what I'm saying is, I do think there's stuff in the chemtrails, because I had that silly cough thing that I let myself get vulnerable to, and when the sky is clear, the few occasions when it's too windy for them to do it, I'm okay, and on other days I need nicotine to take to stop me coughing. And so it's not that there isn't anything. I don't think there is all the time, but I do think it's a very, very visible thing that they can keep us feeling that we're having something done to us, and it's all terrible, and it's just something that's constant, you know.
Yeah.
So,
It isn't in Australia. Weirdly, there's blue skies in Australia, and when I don't have any sinus problems, but when my husband goes to Australia, his sinuses disappear.
Yeah, Carrie, we'll come to you in a minute.
There's nothing else. No, they're not spraying. I don't know why, but they don't seem to. Maybe it's too big a continent or something like that. I have no idea.
So I did even see something this morning that was saying, yes, 2 years ago they were adverse chemtrails, but now supposedly they're not all adverse and they are actually positive. But I don't know. I just live this life in that sense of love, not fear. So Carrie, you wanted to say something. You're still muted. Yeah, well done.
Well, I had heard of a remedy, but I have no idea whether it works. But I thought, well, if I just tell you what it is, some people can try it. There was a guy on Richard Vobes, and he said that he uses vinegar and warmed up in water in a bowl and just puts it outside, and he reckons that it does actually dissipate them after a period of time, but whether that's true or not, I don't know.
I've heard that too, having it on a burner.
Yes.
That looks nice and delicious.
But I mean, I've tried positive, what's the word, visualization of, I just think about blue skies and maybe proper little white fluffy clouds, and I've had a certain amount of success with that, but whether that's just coincidence, I don't know. We've only been chemtrailed here in Cornwall for about the last 18 months. They never bothered with us. And then it used to be only twice a week, usually Wednesdays and Saturdays. And now it's kind of practically every day. It's big time.
Yeah.
But I take your point about, you know, I do get a bit annoyed about it and start doing a few signs up to the heavens. But it's best to just, you know, try and visualize it as something nice rather than give it the attention they want us to give it.
Yeah, that is a real positive for us to get out of this. And the higher we raise our vibration with love, working from the heart, is better for us, because then we cope with things better.
And also the device I've got that I plug in, Blue Shield, is got a very large radius, and so hopefully if it works, it protects my garden with the bees and the birds and the wildlife as well from EMFs.
Well, so let's change that word from if to as it works.
Oh, sorry, yes.
Yeah. Well
Thank
done.
you.
Okay. Right,
Okay.
I'm going to come to Hugh.
Thanks.
Because it got his hand up. Thank you, Carrie.
Hi there.
Hi.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yep. Hi. Yeah, some good discussions this morning. Really good. Just some based on sort of the discussions on the fooding front. Has everyone heard of the PFFA, the People's Food and Farming Alliance website? Yeah. Yep. Okay, good. The Better Way conference is coming up next month. Anyone going to it? I'm thinking about going to that one. That's down near Swindon, I believe, or somewhere in that sort of area. Might be worth a visit. And then, do you follow the Council Watch lady? I can't remember her name, but she's really good with info in terms of challenging councils and getting information out of them. But I can't remember her name. But...
Yeah, I can't remember her name, but I know of her, and I just trust that she will come to me as and when needed. But yeah, if anyone,
she does some really good videos on the challenges in the council chambers, you know, and she produced.
Do you think you could put a link on the Vote Love? Are you on the Vote Love Telegram group? If you put it on there,
yeah, we'll do.
Yeah, and be sort of mindful of which one would be really helpful for people as an introduction. Thank you.
Yeah, it's really
Rachel Williams. Her name is Rachel Williams.
Yeah, sounds about right. Yeah. She has some, I think, really good downloadable templates on challenging the you know, the CO2 sort of nonsense, and also some very good ones on the cars, and you know how they don't become carbon neutral until after 15 years of use. Well, that's pretty useless, isn't it? If it takes 15 years. And then it also includes how they use, I think, child labor or something in Africa to mine those horrible cobalt and various other minerals. So, you know, there's some good information she's got, I believe. And I think there's a few others along that sort of, along those lines, really.
Many thanks for reminding us of that, Hugh, or introducing people to it as well. Thank you.
Yeah, and then if anyone's interested in what's happening in Europe, another good lady to follow on YouTube, if you're interested, she gives usually a fortnightly or a weekly update on what's happening in Europe. A lady called Survival Lily. Again, I don't know if anyone's heard of her, but she has some really good information, not only about what's happening in Europe, but what they're saying they're going to do in other countries outside of Europe, or how they're influencing. Yeah, so it was just really sort of a download of some of that stuff, and yeah, do a bit of meditation when I can to try and chill out, or go for walks and getting out and about, really.
Lovely, thank you. And also, if you could do a post on that Survival Lily on.
Yeah, we'll do.
That'd be helpful.
Yeah, those two.
Thank you very much.
All right. I've got to go soon because I've got a works meeting starting shortly, so I may disappear soon.
Thank
All right,
you very much for
thanks.
joining us. Yeah, okay. Right, I'm going to go to Roger now, please. Need to unmute. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm unmuted. Well, I don't have a lot to say, but I thoroughly concur with Conrad. Law is all about morals and love. I know he didn't say love, but I think he probably would do now. I've prompted him. But there is one thing I'd like to bring people's attention to. There's not much we can do about it, but I just wanted to voice my observations. One of the things which makes tyranny hard to be manifested is the three branches of government. I think most people understand we do have three branches of government. One is the legislature, then the executive, and the judiciary. Has anybody noticed that the legislature doesn't pass any legislation anymore? In fact, I think it's vanished completely, or it's been merged into the executive, because all the legislation coming out of government is executed by the executive, acts of parliament, legislation. So what happened to the legislature? It's not surprising we've got the tyranny that we've got now, because, you know, at one time they were separate. So the legislature made the laws, well, actually, legislation, and the executive, you know, had to adhere to those things, and the other branch, of course, the judiciary. But now we've got the legislation being passed by the executive, which is also benefiting because they can do what they want. I mean, we're basically now living under a tyranny.
Yeah, now I think Carrie wanted to come in on something to do with that, Roger.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, Roger. Sorry. I don't know a great deal about it, but I know a guy who is an ex-copper, and he also has a good friend who is a lawyer. So I will ask him, you know, what his observations are, because he knows a hell of a lot. And also the Community Assembly of the British Isles, we have a group called the Peacekeepers, which you may have heard of. And
Yes.
they actually function under the law of do no harm, but they actually do go into court. They actually liaise with the police, and they make sure that you know, the law is fair. It's as much as can be, you know, as much as is possible. And there's various things people can do if they don't liaise, if they don't interact or make a contract with anyone that's allegedly upholding the law, by just saying, I do not understand. And then I believe you have not put yourself in a contract with them, and they cannot then proceed. But correct me if I'm wrong on that. Okay, but that's just information. Okay, thank you, Roger.
And I even heard about if someone does go to court, don't be dictated to as to where you sit. And if you're just leaving and they start to talk to you, you still, I do not understand, because otherwise you can get suckered into their system, even just as you're leaving, and then they'll bring you back, and you've sort of acknowledged their system, really. Joanne, I think you wanted to come in on.
It's just that when I lectured years ago, there are 3 different, like what Roger said, there are 3 different, how can I say, supposedly safeguards for tyranny. And it's the Crown, House of Lords, and then Parliament itself. That's what I've heard, and they've all just fallen down together, but they're supposed to have been safeguards. I thought the legislate was something to do with Parliament and the executive. They're different. Yeah, I don't think it's changed, but I mean, I could, you know, I'd wait for anyone to say anything different, but I thought it was as it always has been. But the Crown and the House of Lords are just gone. I mean, you know, they're not there to sort of as safeguards, extra sort of help. You know what I'm saying? This was 3 originally. They just merged together.
And sadly, even that term safeguards has been taken over and demonized, hasn't it? And it is not being used properly.
Technically, it was supposed to not, you know, it was supposed to prevent that, you know, tick data ship and stuff, but obviously it hasn't. No, well, only we can do that.
But I know in education and social care, safeguarding is not happening in proper ways that it should be, and it is actually putting some people in danger and having worse because
we're too complicit, aren't we? We just let things carry on. We've been very apathetic.
Well, when you say women,
generally, no. I mean, generally, society has let things go, and we just haven't really had our eye on the ball, and generally, have we? I mean, they were all suddenly, oh, what's going on?
Yeah, I'm not going to use the word we in that.
No.
We are here to shine a light in the dark and all that lot.
I mean, before, yeah. What's happened? Like, my take on it. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks, though, Joanne. Yeah, Lynn.
I'm just going to mention direct democracy at this point. We've been sort of liaising with these people, and we're on board with the principle, as long as there is the safeguard of inalienable rights not being subject to any referendum, anything that violates inalienable rights. But I think, you know, as you were saying, Joe, the House of Lords has clearly failed, is now not fit for purpose, and perhaps the final arbiter should be us with direct democracy. So any piece of legislation is tested in a public referendum.
And it's interesting because since you've mentioned about Switzerland and things with direct democracy and how they sort of emphasize Switzerland, I've been looking up what's been happening with them with the last 4 years, I'll just call it that. And there's been excess deaths and things like that. And even there's one of the companies that's making the investigational injections is actually based in Switzerland.
Switzerland's not a great country. It's got the WHO, it's got the UN, it's very communist in a lot of attitudes, especially in Geneva. That they are quite a sleepy society. So from that point of view, they might well have agreed to, but for inalienable rights should mean that you don't have to, that you can't be forced to take something that you don't want to take, even if the rest of the population is demanding that it's available, and demanding that they get it out quick and all the rest of it. So, I mean, hopefully it should still come down to individual choice. But yeah, you're right. The population themselves are not aware enough to mitigate all that's been going on.
Yeah, and as you've said before as well, Lynn, it's this concern of what's the psychology that's being put out there that might actually make people do things that if they weren't exposed to that adverse psychology, they wouldn't be having these investigational injections and things like that. So, right, I'm going to go back to Roger because I'm very aware that we went off on a tangent on, well, following what you'd said.
Well, yeah, I wanted just to make a comment about what you said in terms of speeding, you know, and fixed penalties, things like that. Well, those kind of things, you know, where there's some kind of, what can we say, mitigating circumstances, they would normally be dealt with by a trial by jury, because a trial by jury can null and void the legislation, as well as judge whether the person is guilty of an infringement or not. And that's what I'm involved in mainly at the moment. I'm trying to get a trial by jury for some infringement of the Road Traffic Act. Had a bit of a setback, but I've got to remain positive. And now I'm praying to the spirit of the universe, because I believe that when things are out of one's own control, we have to revert to that. So that's basically really all I wanted to say.
Right, thank you, Roger. And this is where, when I was thinking about the swerving the car thing years ago, I'd come back from somewhere on holiday, was traveling on my own, and I'd been stuck behind a car that got a trailer. And finally, there was a clear road, and so I overtook it just as, I mean, and the police knew where they were. And the police got me for speeding. And that was the only time I'd done any speeding. And those days I didn't know how I could have perhaps countered that. But I'm sure they were there on purpose to do that. And that's why I got done. And it shouldn't be happening. But on a positive, I've heard of someone recently that's ended up in court over something. And they didn't exactly win as such, but it came through in a positive way that they realised in court if they continued with something, then it would be likely that things would come out that weren't in favour of the people that were trying to sort of do the other person. And they decided when they got to a certain point to actually back off, but they weren't told they got to pay expenses and stuff like that. So just keep following what feels right, Roger, and yeah, and reach out to whoever you can for support as you go. Okay, now I'm very conscious that we're on just about 1 o'clock, and DL, I'm not sure what DL. Right, do you want to say anything today?
Go on then, just a quick one. So 2 days time, it'll be 1 year to the day when Rashid Buttar was murdered. And if you want to know why they tolerated several years of his very vocal videos through COVID, through the scamdemic, but decided to kill him last year, check out his Twitter. The live stream that he did for 30 minutes the day before he died. Yeah, that's very, he's hitting the nail on the head on pretty much everything that they're scared of, everything that they've covered up, and everything we can do about it. And yeah, so I recommend.
I saw something earlier today of someone who's I think just been murdered, and also in the Twitter thing that was showing the actual video of who it was. They've also linked into at least 2 other people that have been leaders in different countries that have been basically murdered. Yeah.
But to make sure that his effort's not in vain, check out that live stream, 30 minutes on top of his Twitter profile, and he covers every topic that's important, basically. From things from spirituality to things that they're doing to poison us, to things we can do, to even to cover-ups of, you know, potentially having been visited by extraterrestrials, you know, and evidences for that, and how that can fit in with spiritual and religious people as well. Yeah,
Would you be able to put a link on Vote Love on Telegram for us?
I don't use Telegram.
You don't? Oh, right. Okay. Well, if anyone else can put a
But
link
just
on for
top
that.
of his Twitter profile is easy to find. Yeah, so I just thought I'd give him a.
Yeah.
Is Rashid spelled Isheed? Rashid.
Rashid, Rashid Buttar.
It is Rashid Patel.
Rashid Buttar, Buttar. Yeah, so he was a very vocal doctor. He was a very highly decorated doctor early on in his life, and he was into chelation therapy and things like that to remove heavy metals long before COVID. And yeah, he was on the right track. He was building a very popular conference, which did get infiltrated by a lot of shills. And yeah, they kind of took him out, but he was on the right tracks, and they couldn't have that. So check it out; it's very telling. Anyway, that's it.
Thank you for that. And being a controlled remote viewer and knowing people that have actually had alien experiences, and even my family friend, he used to be a HGV driver, and we used to call him Uncle, but I found out since I've been a remote viewer that apparently he had an experience with a UFO when he was out doing his HGV work, and they said if Uncle Harry had had that and tells us about it, it must be true. They never told us as a family until I got into the remote viewing. So
yeah, I mean, it's on the top of their list of things that they don't want, that they want to control the narrative on. Now that's going to be there for a reason. Whether they're going to do fake stuff about it or whether there was real stuff that they're hiding, probably both.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway.
And to me, that's where we need to realise they'll do this sort of thing with chemtrails, with anything that they're telling us about. And we
was talking about that as well.
Yeah. So thank you very much. Right. Is there anything anyone else wants to say before I finish the recording?
Yeah. Can I just leave on a positive from all that? If you read Hermetic philosophy, and you understand that basically with all energy there's an equal and opposite action and reaction. Almost as the more dark and the more aggressive and the more corrupt they become, the more light, the more awakened, the more developed, and everything else has to happen. It can't not. So you could almost look at it to get them to hurry up, because the quicker they do what they're doing and bring everything to the completion, the quicker more and more people are gonna see what's happening. And we saw that, you know, with the travesty that was the pandemic and what they did there, how many people, which was a terrible thing that they did, how much positivity that's actually happened globally, and how many people have actually suddenly awoken and seen what's going on. So everything has an equal and opposite action. So it's you know, let them do whatever they're going to do. It's in effect, it's not a problem, because the more they do, the more gets done. So
and you called it hermetic what was it?
Hermetic philosophy. It's there's a book. Hermes was Thoth, and he was also Mercury. He was the ancient that brought the original information back to the Egyptians. So in the Egyptian, on the hieroglyph, on the drawings where you have the jackal, Hermes was the jackal, so he was the bringer of all information. So they say that he was the bringer of all information back from the previous civilization, and he lived for 3,000 years. So he was the one that brought all the information back. But the Hermetic philosophy is there's a beautiful book in it, and once you read it, you just realize that everything's balanced anyway. It's not a problem. It's like you just see that everything has a balance. So it's It took me a while to kind of release the realization of the dark, because I got very upset and how humanity was treating each other. But then I realized that actually that just gets balanced out. It just gets more people awakening up and being lighter and more generous and more giving and more creative, and that's what's happening at the same time, because that's what happens basically in the universe. So
and that's where, to balance that off, we don't just necessarily sit back and don't do anything all the time. We will be inspired to shine our light and drop seed when
Absolutely.
it's needed. Yeah. So
Absolutely.
thank you very
Absolutely.
much. Yeah.
Not at all.
Okay, so anyone else want to say anything before I stop the recording, and then we'll just stay on for a few minutes after if you wish. Okay, I'm stopping the recording.